Hello, welcome to another episode of a Candid Conversation with Adam Lopez. I'm your host, Adam. And again, thank you. Thank you for your continued support of this podcast. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for just tuning in and listening and watching these great interviews with great individuals, amazing guests, just like today. I have Dr. Claire Muselman. Claire, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here and be having a candid conversation with you, Adam.
It's amazing to have you. You know, we haven't met in person, but I feel like I've known you for a long time. We have an amazing,
Absolutely.
Group chat going. We, empower each other, motivate each other, and it's just been amazing. The synergy and the energy you bring to the group, and I just appreciate you for everything that you do and that you're doing. And we're going to get into a lot of different stuff, Claire, this morning or this evening, wherever you're listening from, but. Claire works as a Chief Risk Officer at Emory Industrial Services, which is dry ice manufacturing, but she oversees many aspects of when it comes to risk, right? She oversees HR, insurance, safety, DOT, training, workers' compensation, many hats. So Claire, tell us, how has your position as Chief Risk Officer been at Emory? Explain to us, share with us.
So I will tell you, every day is a completely different day. I think most people that I know that are in the risk environment can say that every day is a new day. There's things that happen overnight that change the trajectory of your job and by the next morning. And so it's been really fun. I feel like it was a really good culmination of everything that I've done for like the past 2 decades of my career. And then I'm also a professor at Drake University. And this year I switched into moving more into teaching corporate strategy. I have been teaching HR in the past. It's been really fun. But I think the biggest piece of everything that I have gotten the opportunity to utilize skill set wise really comes down to understanding people, because our customers are people, our employees are people. Everything that we do impacts people. And I think that that's one of the really neat things about the risk environment is understanding, all right, how is this going to impact the people from it being a customer of business? What kind of operating units? How do we keep our employees safe? How do we make sure that they enjoy being a part of this? A lot of companies talk about how, we treat each other like a family, and then it's still a corporate environment. And that is not how this place works at all. It has been really fun and welcoming and kind of flying by the seat of your pants, because it's also an entrepreneurial company that's up and growing, and the growth has been amazing, and the trajectory is just insane and so much fun every day. I get to work with some really cool people too.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of moving parts in your position.
Yeah.
But the last thing you said was very key. You get to work with a lot of amazing people. That, I always say this, whatever you do in life, you have to have a passion for it, right? You have to enjoy the people. You get to meet people. You have to find the joy in meeting people and what you do. So it sounds, just by speaking to you, that you're passionate about what you do, changing the world, changing the people, having an impact. Anybody can have a position, anybody can have a job. When you actually make an impact, you're doing something good. You're mentioning offline that you guys have a plant in Texas. You support restaurants, you support many different lines of business. So tell us a little bit of exactly what is it that you guys do at Emory Industrial Services.
So we have a manufacturing facility that actually creates the different types of dry ice, from it being blocks or it can be little pellets. They go from being very, very, very small to being the big blocks that you think of when we're talking about like shipping food and whatnot. We also have operations in Dallas, and we have operations in Houston and in Midland, and then in the wonderful metropolis known as Des Moines, Iowa, where we actually can go in. We do more in the Texas lines. We do like the oil rigs, we do soil remediation. There's some really cool products and partnerships that we've been working on, where when there's like oil contamination or oil on buildings and stuff like that, there's certain products that we can use, or we can do the dry ice blasting to have it flake off. There's a lot of building remediations, or actually like enhancing paint that's been done, or graffiti that's been done on concrete, brick, you name it. And it's just neat. It's an interesting thing, because when you think about it from a dry ice standpoint, there's not chemicals that are going into it. It's pretty easy cleanup, and the impact, like you can literally take it down from the pounds per square inch, and the specific nozzle you can take ink off of an egg up to like paint that has been on a brick for years. I mean, it's just fascinating because it's all about how many pounds per square inch, what kind of cone, how it's being dispersed. It's just fascinating science. And that's what I think has been really fun, is learning all about it. And all of the people that I have gotten to work with are super passionate about it, and they're very knowledgeable. Everything from the formulation of how do we actually create the products into what trajectory we're using to blast a surface. It's just really, it's different, it's fun, and it's interesting. And I'm a huge science nerd, so this stuff's really fun for me.
This is awesome. So I always say this. We look at LinkedIn profiles and we just see the name and the title, what company they work for, but you never really understand, digging deep or diving deep into what it really is. So I'm actually very intrigued of what you're saying of what it deals with, dry ice manufacturing, especially your role. Your role has to be very, very hands-on. Like I said, a lot of moving parts. It's not like you just deal with one little risk. It's like all aspects of risk, which probably makes it a lot of fun. It's never a dull moment, I bet you.
Never a dull moment. And I will tell you, I have an amazing team of people. Like our safety team is amazing. They are experts in their fields, and they know, one knows the oil side of the business, the other knows DOT. There's just like so many moving pieces and elements, but it's a team. Like we're one team that supports the entire operating unit. And that's where it's important to figure out, like, how do you collaborate well with people? How do we make training and safety consumable so that our employees are protected on the front end, so they aren't getting hurt? But we're also really, really focused on making sure people have a life. So we want to make sure that they are protected while they're here, so that they can get back out and be with their families on the weekends or at nights or whatnot, and going home to them in the same condition that they arrived to us in. And that's one of those big focal points about, I've always talked about being glitter and sparkles and making good things happen. Well, now we get to do it on that protection, that onboarding, really getting people to understand the impact of their jobs and like the risks that are associated with it, but making it consumable so people have a really concrete understanding of what they're doing, how they do it.
Absolutely.
And it's fun because everybody's really passionate.
Yeah, I can see that, which is amazing. We've been speaking with Dr. Claire Muselman she's the Chief Risk Officer at Emory Industrial Services. If anybody is interested on what this dry ice manufacturing is all about and what they support, which is restaurants and other lines of business, please visit the website. It's going to be down on your screen for those who are watching, and those who are listening. Here it is: www.emoryindustrial.com. That's EMORY industrial.com. And the phone number for their offices is 866-933-5712. It's all going to be down on the screen for those watching. You can write it down and reach out to her. It's just amazing to hear and learn from the different industries, different sectors. You see titles, but you don't know exactly what they do. So thank you, Claire, for sharing everything that you do. I see in your LinkedIn that you talk about insurance, leadership, risk management, workers' compensation. You do it all. You're a teacher. It's a lot of things that you do. And I think it's great for the industry. People like myself and other colleagues can definitely learn from you and take some nuggets away from how do we deal with risk. It's not like one size fits all. I always say that you always have to take your cap off when you're doing workers' comp and training and DOT, environmental. It's like so many things going on. But when you're passionate, Claire, like you and I, it's a fun day out in the world, right?
It is. So I think one of the things that I've liked the most, you just hit on environmental, and that is something that we've looked at when we look at corporate sustainability these days. So DEI has been a huge initiative, but I also see the drastic increase in environmental stability. And that is one of the things that I think has been really neat about coming here, because the whole dry ice blasting, the involvement in working in like the oil and gas sectors, working in food and beverage, power generation, masonry restoration, manufacturing, agriculture, construction, and a plethora of other areas. There's a lot of stuff that we do that is sustainable for the environment. And that's something that I think you're going to continue to see people start pushing and harping when we look at objectives moving forward, 2022 and beyond.
Wow, man, that's amazing. So if I were to ask you this question, what is the number one single most value that you see, that you find in doing the job that you do for Emory?
Communication.
Ooh, cool. What do you mean by that?
So I think, well, one, again, working with people,
Mm.
People are multifaceted,
Yeah.
multidimensional.
Yeah.
They're complicated, to be frank. But communication along the lines of transparency, education, value, making people feel seen and heard and recognized, communicating what the benefits of what we do, communicating for safety purposes, communicating to build camaraderie and build
Mm.
teams, especially being like a younger company that's really kind of in a grassroots effort of some amazing humans. The communication piece of how do we make sure that the bigger we get, that we still get to keep this tight knit feeling of, and I know I've used this term before, like the family feeling, but it's legit. Like one of my very first days when we were flying to one of the operating units, one
Yeah.
of our general managers was like, "Nah, just come to my house. You can meet my family, my kids. Like, just come." And that's what they do. Like, you bring you
Wow.
into the family. And so I think from a communication standpoint, like the bigger we get, how do we still make sure that our leadership teams are conducting business in a way that their people do feel like that? Where
Wow.
it's not just, you're not here for a job. Like, we work all the time. It's like a 24/7, people are going to call, you got to go, it's time to move. And so how do you get people to want to be a part of that and
Right.
understand that, we've got stuff going on all the time. Things are going to be different every day, but it's okay because we
Yeah.
all have each other's back. If it's not cancer, we can find a way to solve it,
Mm.
and to really look at it from like a global perspective. And we're all here to build something amazing. And each of us have those components that make us awesome. And so from like my team standpoint, it's our job to go support operations, and it's our job to support sales and make sure that everybody gets what they need from us to be able to go do their very best work.
Wow. There you have it, folks, from Dr. Claire Musselman. We have to value our employees. We have to make them
Yeah.
part of a solution, not the problem, right? So I like your perspective. I like your perspective, Claire, because the moment you appreciate the employees and you realize and understand that we have a job because of them, we are who we are because of
Yep.
them. They work the front lines, they work the floor.
Yeah.
You have a different appreciation towards them, and I see that from you. And I think that's what differentiates, your passion, your position, your input, your value. And I think it's great that you said communication is the number one value of importance
Yes.
for your job, which I agree as well. I believe in communication. I'm a huge advocate. Communication is key. So I think we're definitely connected there. So we've been speaking with Dr. Claire Musselman from Emory Industrial Services. If anybody wants to visit their website to learn more about exactly what they do and what they service, and the great resources and support and resources they have, visit the website at www.emoryindustrial.com. The phone number is 866-933-5712, which takes me now to the next segment, a segue into another role that you most recently carried on. We have a mutual friend in Angel Guerra Chagoya.
Yes.
She's been an amazing individual, an amazing mentor to me, a coach. She has entrusted me to be part of her advocacy committee. She's entrusted me to help her coordinate some of the conferences coming up. But that doesn't compare to the trust she has in you, because now you are the Chief Operating Officer for Beauty and Beast in Business. So first of all, congratulations on
Thank you.
that assignment designation. I think you're going to be great. Angel's amazing. She saw the potential and great added value in you. So first and foremost, tell us a little bit of how it feels to be now the Chief Operating Officer for Beauty and Beast in Business. And number two, what are your goals? What are your objectives? How are you going to enhance this entire business, this crazy idea that our friend Angel has?
I love it. So number one, it's probably one of the most exciting roles that I've gotten to take. I think this is, when we look at it, so I always believe you need to have more than one quote unquote job, because
Mm,
you've got to feel your passion and you've got to feed yourself in different ways from like an educational
yeah.
standpoint and a push standpoint. I think, you talked about how we're all on an inspirational text chain in the
Yeah.
mornings, and it's like a fire igniting underneath. And this is one of those things where it's kind of the give back project is what I would consider what Angel and I are
Mm,
collaborating with
mm,
on. The industry has been stale. Let's just be very honest. It's not that super exciting. We didn't have a lot of people, younger kids coming in that are excited about coming in to start risk, insurance,
yeah.
HR. Like when we start looking at the whole overall, or safety, we're
Yeah.
trying
Yeah.
to get people excited about industries that have not always operated one really in an inclusive environment. Because let's
Mm,
be real, when you look at the demographics You're not seeing a lot of women at the top.
Yeah.
DEI has become
Yeah.
a huge initiative,
Yeah.
and we are really missing those younger groups
Mm.
of people. And so when we look at what are we doing, well, how do we equip people to be their best versions of themselves? How do we empower them?
Mm.
How do we get people to understand self-awareness and to understand that they have these values and they're able to contribute in whatever organization they're at? They can be change
Yeah.
makers.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
can be movement
Absolutely. Yeah.
generators. They just
Yeah.
have to understand who they are at their core and what values they bring. Because when you're able to understand what values you bring, then you can find the people that might be different than yours, or the characteristics that you don't necessarily succeed in
Mm.
because you might not care about them, but other people that are really great. So for example,
Yeah. Yeah.
I absolutely am not an analytical person. I'm a visionary person. Like I
Yeah.
like to bring the vision, I can get people there, but I need help from other people. So if I want to continue to cultivate figuring out what's going to set my soul on fire, I know I have to have those anchoring people in my world to make it successful. And
Absolutely.
so Angel and I really want to take things of talking about topics that haven't been addressed before, looking at different ways of educating, looking at different ways of empowering, giving people access that don't necessarily get access to the growth and development opportunities that others do. And so we're
Mm.
trying to look at this from a standpoint of how do we empower at the most highest functioning way that not only gets these people super jazzed and excited with us, but that we can leave legacies that can then be passed on.
Wow.
Because I don't know about you, but I don't really care if my parents are proud of me. I care that my daughter is proud of me, because
Mm.
those are the generations that we have to start being aware of and
Yeah.
taking our time and putting our passion there, because they're who's coming in next. And so
Absolutely.
what have we set up? If we are not out there helping and collaborating and trying to push things forward and inspire those who aren't inspired, then what are we doing? And
Mm.
so I really enjoyed it with her. You know, we fall into insurance, we fall into
Yeah.
risk.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, when I was 5, I didn't write down, yes, I'm gonna be in risk management, I'm gonna be in work comp, like I'm gonna be a claims person.
Right.
But I had that opportunity, and it has
Mm.
been one of the most soul fulfilling things that I could do, because every day, and you get this in your position too,
Mm.
we have the single ability to change the trajectory of somebody's life by being involved in it. And that is like, our industry has this innate, amazing
Right.
power to be able to do that. People just never look at it in that landscape. And so one of the things that I've loved about this, and I think it's so much fun to be collaborating with Angel on this, is making sure that everyone understands their
Yeah.
value and their purpose and the impact and the ripple that they can make in this industry, in working with people, and understand that the communication elements that make everything work, everyone has that capability and that
Mm.
potential. We're just trying to give people access, resources, give them the roots of confidence so that they can go do whatever they want. The world is an abundant
Yeah.
place. And so having that kind of abundancy mindset versus the fixed mindset makes all the difference in the world.
Wow. I love how you just said, pretty much my objective, we need to empower people,
Yeah.
make them
Yep.
feel they're valuable. They have skills. They bring great assets. I mean, that's amazing. And no wonder, Angel, I trust you with this position, because the passion is just oozing out of you to want to help other women, specifically
Yeah.
the women, but it's great. It's amazing that you and I get this opportunity to join Angel in these conferences she's putting together, and these awards she's putting together, and creating CEU credits. And it's just
Mhm.
amazing. It's going to be an amazing journey. I love her vibe. I love her vision, because she's not only here present in the moment, but she's thinking 5 years down the line, 10 years down the
She
line.
is.
And that's the type of,
She is. And she's just thinking about doing
right?
things differently. How can we help your success
Yeah.
differentiate from our success? Because the way that we do things
Yeah.
is very different
Yeah.
than the way that somebody else is going to do it. And so we all need our CEUs. We have to have our accreditations. We've got to have that because that's a function of business. But how can we do it where it's bold, beautiful, and exciting,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
people can actually walk away feeling that they've learned something, that they have a way to apply it to their current
Yeah.
position or whatever their goals are, and then be able to go and then either regurgitate it or pull it into tactful daily activities that
Yeah.
leave it so that it's a continual learning organization,
Yeah.
versus it being like, I sat through my ethics CEU and I checked the box. I'm
Yeah.
not check boxes. We're
Right.
ripping out boxes and bursting through the walls of mediocrity to start elevating the
Yeah.
standards of what we expect from people and what we're willing to start putting forth. Like, just because we do things differently, we want to build communities in a way that they haven't been done before. And we want to try and establish these, like, we've been so heavy on mentoring and mentorship over the past couple of years that these are the things that we've really got to start heavily putting focus towards, because it's the future. And the future that we entered into, I think when we started into, this entity or this space, it wasn't super exciting. So it's like, all right, I'm going to throw some glitter. Angel's going to put a ton of color at it, and just watch out, because we're going to make this a really exciting next 10 years.
Man, that is amazing, and a little plug here for Angel Beauty and Beast in Business. We have conferences coming up. We have July, Chicago, Illinois. We have in August, Northern California, and really all to bring a different perspective, a different environment, a different platform to just empower and enhance that risk professional, that workers' comp adjuster. And it's going to be great. And I'm happy to work alongside your side to bring in, different sponsors, different people, different material, different content. I think it's going to be great. And I couldn't see a better person than you in this position, and then having us as a support and advocacy committee. So congratulations again, Dr. Claire Muselman, for this appointment with Angel. You're going to be amazing.
Thank you. Thanks for being a part of our advocacy committee too. I'm excited to see where we take this and where we go. Absolutely. We were just doing our calendar last Sunday. So my Sunday mornings and Saturday mornings are days where Angel and I love it. We always set, we'll just do a half-hour check-in. So 3 hours later, after, I've had 7 cups of coffee and we've already changed the world in our heads for the next 5 years. It's probably one of the most fun brainstorming sessions. And there is something, women, just very specifically to women, have been historically raised and generationally programmed not to get along. You're always competing with each other. There are some amazing studies actually from the late 1990s that just showcase how women tear each other down. She is my sole person when it comes to how do we elevate, inspire, and empower others to change those generational programs that have been instilled into people for decades upon decades upon decades, where no, we're going to be allies. We're going to help each other, because you can't compete with me. I want you to win too. Like, I want to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to elevate and help people prosper with whatever their passion is. And so just to get, it's kind of like, again, when I talked about our community that you and I are involved in with Josh Diggs and our crew it's all about making sure that every single thing that we have done has helped inspire in some way, but our paths are all very, very different, but we can all succeed and all win in whatever way that they want to go. It's just what resonates for one person reads differently in someone else's life.
That's amazing. So we've been speaking with Claire, Chief Risk Officer at Emory Industrial Services. We learned from her on her objectives and her goals and her task as a Chief Operating Officer for Beauty and Beast in Business, among other positions and titles that she has, a teacher, and she has a daughter. And it's just I'm very impressed and very happy to number one, know you, number two, to not call you friend, and number three, to have you as a support, which is my segue to my last segment or section of this interview. Is recently, actually this past Saturday, I visited an orphanage home in Tijuana, Mexico, which I've been doing for the last 4 years. And this all was born out of our church here in Oxnard. We have every December we have a Christmas shop, and we provide toys for underserved and underprivileged families who, number one, don't have the means, to go buy toys or get to their children. So we provide these toys, we wrap them up for them, and it's an amazing experience, right? But then we had a lot of toys left over, and I thought to myself, I think there's an orphanage home in Tijuana, and I'm pretty sure I've worked with them in the past. So maybe 2017 or 18, I filled up my car with toys, went to the orphanage home, dropped them off, and then from there, just seeing, the glow in the children's eyes, from 1 year old to 18 to 23, it just compelled me to say, I got to do this every year. This is amazing. This is an orphanage home that it needs a lot of help, right? So when I posted on LinkedIn and I sent a message to our group, the whole thing, you were one of the very first ones to say, hey, come in, and it wasn't like you sent $50. You said something substantial, which I was like, whoa. You immediately demonstrated your heart. You demonstrated your genuine passion to care for others, to make sure others are well taken care of. That was a very, very unselfish act for you to just say, hey, here it is, go bless them. Which, let me
Yeah.
tell you that when I handed over the money, the checks and everything, they were blown away. And the director tells me, this is a miracle. We were not expecting this, because they're very low in resources and support.
Sure.
And sometimes they don't even know if money's going to come in or funding. It's Mexico's no, it's not like they're funding
Yep.
from the government of California or nothing.
Correct.
So it's
Yeah.
very unexpected sometimes. So to say that your seed, your donation, dynamic and impact, it was huge to them. They're able to go buy food, hygiene items, et cetera, go buy, clothes and socks for the little kids. I mean, it went a long way. We were able to give them $2,800 in donations.
I love that.
And we were
Yay.
able to buy them pizza and drinks and wings. We were able to take some blankets. We took a bunch of toys. I'm making a video, which obviously I'm gonna show it the world later on, but I documented from when we arrived to Mexico, to the orphanage, to the kids, to everything. It's gonna be an amazing. And I actually had a little ceremony with the director where I handed each check and monetary donation, and I mentioned who they came from. So I mentioned you, I mentioned Josh, I mentioned others, because it's not. I know you don't care about the credit, but they need to know where this comes from. They need to know, hey,
Yeah.
this person, Claire Muselman from Iowa said, I'm in and I want to bless you. They
Yeah.
never met you, but they wanted to help you, right? So
Yeah.
it was
Got it.
great. It was great. And I want to just publicly thank you for your heart. Thank you for your, you don't even hesitate. You, and as well as
Not at all.
Brent Rose and
Hmm.
others were like, oh, I'm in. It's no question about it. Even Angel, like even she was like, let's do it. How can I send you money?
Yeah.
So the way that people, came together and just was like, let's do it. People ordered merchandise from my website, from my podcast.
Yeah.
All those benefits went towards that. It was
Well, let's be
amazing.
realistic. You do have the cutest models on your website. Let's just go with that. Those children are adorable. So
Right. My daughter, of course, is on the headline over
yes.
there. But I just wanted to thank you. And I wanted to ask you this. How important is it, Claire, for all of us? Some of us are just consumed with our careers. Some of us are consumed
Yeah.
with our lifestyle, with all the responsibilities we have, that sometimes we either forget, neglect, or ignore all the need that is out there. And
Yeah.
we can make a difference. Maybe we can't go, but we can definitely contribute. Maybe we can't deliver, but we can definitely, ship or send or whatever. How important is it for you to say, hey, no matter how busy I am, no matter what my career has taken me, no matter all these positions, I still got to be grounded and humble enough to say, I got to help when I can, because I can and I want to.
Yeah.
For anybody, how important is that for us to be a help to others?
It's the initial ripple. It's the ripple effect. I mean, so I was a foster child. So you hit me for a couple of reasons when I saw your stuff. So one, I used to live in Tecate, Mexico. So Tijuana was not that far away.
Yeah.
I saw a lot.
Yeah.
These kids need that little spark of hope. I still have a teddy bear from my very first family.
Yeah.
And I actually pulled it out earlier this week after having a conversation with a friend, actually here at work. We were just talking about our paths, because our pasts are somewhat similar in that. And so when it comes to, I think one of the reasons that I think that the pandemic kind of shifted a lot of things for people, where we aren't seeing things as much right in front of our faces. The needs still exist. They're there. And I think the simple ask, most people want to help. It's just creating that ask and presenting an opportunity. Then it's making sure it's in alignment. So this is where when we look at giving back, making sure it's in alignment with your own personal values and what you value. I feel for those children. I understand that there are those little glimmers of hope that you need. I think it's super imperative that we continue to give children hope in whatever capacity that we possibly can. Absolutely. Because that single moment of when you guys walked in there could be the pivotal moment that starts that ripple effect for the child, regardless of what age they are. Those are those memories that they're going to have, that are going to restore, that get you through those days when life really isn't fair or that fun. I work for the National Leadership Academy in Denver, Colorado. It's a Tommy Spalding nonprofit where they bring children from all over the United States once they hit high school age, and they can come from any of the foster care homes, any of the group homes, all the way up through children who are paying to be there as well. And we teach people what heart-led leadership is and how to love. And these kids come with some pretty heavy stories, but it's all about inspiring hope and giving them the power to understand that regardless of your socioeconomic status, there are going to be people that are there to hear you, to see you, to make sure that you know
Yeah.
you're not alone. And we are going to do everything that we can to keep giving those glimmers of hope and opportunity. Because that's, again, like, it's kind of why Angel and I are doing what we're doing. It's really wanting to empower people and
Wow.
remember that there are good things that happen out there. And just because you're dealt this deck of cards right now
Yeah.
doesn't mean we can't teach you how to play them. So they're for your advantage. But I still have my bear. So I guarantee
Ooh.
you, Adam, some one of those kids are going to remember that stuff, and they
And
might keep it. Like, I've taken it with me everywhere. And it's funny because if I've had a really bad day, like, there is something, it's my bear.
yeah, yeah, man,
And
that is
it brings me home.
that is I'm telling you,
Whew,
sometimes you don't know.
that's a deep one today.
Sometimes you just don't know, the history of somebody, and I'm floored away. I was asked by the director of this orphanage to share a word of hope to these children,
Yeah.
and that was tough. Let me tell you, to try to maintain my composure and to try to tell these kids that doesn't matter on the lowest day of their life when the world has given their back on them. There's people that love them, there's people that care for them. That's why we're here, that's why we're here to visit you. And just to see
Yeah.
their faces, I'm just like, oh, it was just tough, but I knew I had to do it, because you're right. Maybe that right there is a pivotal moment for the ripple effect, right? They're going to remember that
Yeah.
somebody came and told us it's
Yep.
going to be okay, right? But I have a last question for you before we end this interview. Would you say, Claire, that this experience of being in the foster system, and seeing a lot, and going through that treatment or whatnot, do you feel that was that field, or that had a huge factor in you saying, I'm going to be somebody in this world, I'm going to do good for me, for my daughter, for my family? Did that fuel you?
So I'm going to give you two thoughts on this. Number one, the next time that you guys go down, I want to come. So my daughter and I will absolutely come and join you guys,
That's
because I would really
awesome.
like to be a part of this.
Yes.
Two, it took me a long time to own that. One of the most derogatory terms that I've ever been called in my adult life was I was in an argument with someone, and she's like, listen here, Orphan Annie. Okay, at this point of my life, like, I'm in my mid-20s,
Yeah.
and you better come at me with something that's going to hurt more than that. But it took me a really long time to understand that there wasn't anything wrong with me. And you use the word love. And one of the things that I think is really impactful is when we talk about love as choice. Like, I choose to wake up and love my child in whatever capacity that I can, so that I make sure that she has all of her needs met, so that we change the trajectory or those
Yeah.
generational things that have come before us.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to own this. So I have done a lot of soul searching, a lot of counseling, lots of therapy, to figure out, like, I am a chronic overachiever. A chronic overachiever, where I achieve. I have a ridiculous amount of insurance licenses. I'm always doing a certificate. I've got my doctorate, achieve, because I don't want to get sent back to a different family. I don't want to get sent back to the orphanage. And that is something that has ridiculously been programmed into my mind, so that when I look at how I value myself from a worthiness standpoint or an achievement standpoint, I don't necessarily feel it. And so when we look at love and choice, and how do we take care of others, and how do we take care of ourselves, this took a lot of work for me to figure out, okay, you are wired in this capacity because of your upbringing. And so when I hit the work comp system, for example, it was like, oh, we are profiting off of human suffering. This is just like the foster system. It's
Yeah.
like $30,000 to get an attorney to adopt a child. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me? So when we look at how there's like these fractures in the system, and I relate the foster care system exactly similarly to workers' compensation, because they are intended for the right use, to get the right people to try and help where they can. They completely missed the ball. It's been going on for way too long. And I was like, you know what? I'm in work comp. I see the similarities. I understand the path. There is alignment here. I'm going to do everything I can to make good things happen for people when they have to be involving me. And I think that that's kind of similarly with the foster care system in Iowa. Like, we have CASA, the court appointed special advocates for children.
Yeah.
I just have like one more test to take, because there's a piece of it that I have a hard time with. I'm going to finish it. I'm telling you right now. So I'm going to go finish this so that I can go help other kids navigate the system, because that's what happens. We create these systems with good intent.
Yeah.
Somebody profits, finds a way to profit on it. And then
Yeah.
we miss the intended user. These
Absolutely.
kids fall through the cracks. Or one of the bigger things that I really want to find a way, and I know Dr. Tyrone Spears from California, from LA, is working on this as well. What happens when they age out? Like they age out of the system, and then where are the resources? Where are the people? They still, like, they don't have, like, they might have resources, or we get them into college, but where do they go at Thanksgiving? Like, where is that dynamic? Because we all need community in some capacity. And so looking at it from those things, those are the things that keep me up at night, that fuel my fire, that make my passion, so that we have sense of community at whatever organization that I'm a part of. So here at Emory, being a part of that family, making sure we've got each other's back, no different than growing up in that system, or helping an injured worker along the workers' compensation process. I think they're all very similar, and they're very much in alignment. And had I not experienced, I don't know, whatever it was growing up, it's also taught me boundaries. It's taught me that, you know, if you don't find, there's no external force that can hurt you if you can address all the garbage that goes on inside. And I think that that's been one of the most powerful things, that, okay, so you know what? These are the cards I was dealt with. I grew up in this capacity. I was raised in this family. I do not have a relationship with my parents, but I'm going to be the best mother I possibly can be for my daughter, so that she is just supported in being her authentic self with whatever path she's going to choose, and loving her in that capacity with her right to choose, or whatever she wants to be when she grows up or whatnot. And so it's been taking those pieces of kind of the yuck and figuring out how do you make this something beautiful and awesome, and bloom it into something fantastic, so other people understand they can do it too. Here's your roadmap.
Oh my gosh, you know, I know, I don't think you and I imagine that this conversation would be so, you know, emotional, deep, ever touch, you know, those cores, right? And I'm sorry if it got you like, you know, good. But thank you for sharing your story, Claire. This is amazing. You know, sometimes, and this is why this is the kind of conversation, because none of the questions are pre-populated. I don't have questions written down. It's just where the conversation takes us, where the flow goes. That's when it becomes real. It becomes authentic. And I want to thank you, number one, for opening your heart. Number two, for just being honest and transparent, because honest and transparent and open, because I think sometimes that's difficult, right? But it seems that you have the right state of mind. It seems that you've made the decision to be the good mom to your daughter, and I think that speaks volumes of who you are, regardless of where you come from. It sounds like you have still a little bit of obstacles to go through, but you know that you're confident that you can accomplish that as well. So we've been speaking with Dr. Claire Muselman. She's many different titles, as we learned from her. Chief Risk Officer at Emory Industrial Services. She's a Chief Operating Officer at Beauty and Beast in Business. She came from the foster system. She shared her story, an amazing story. You have left an impact in my heart for sure. You know, and there's just so much more we can talk about. And I don't want to keep this podcast too long. We might have to have a part 2 to just talk about orphanage and foster system, right? But I want to thank you, Claire. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for giving me your time and sharing your story, your life. Is there anything else you would like to share with our listeners and our viewers today?
I think if you could share the orphanage information, if anyone would like to be a donor and help support this amazing cause, it is when you get to see the children's faces light up and understand that you are literally starting an inspiration ripple from a light within a tiny little soul that can be just one of the most amazing, bright, shiny lights as they get older and they bloom into whoever they become.
Thank you so much, Claire. You've been watching and listening to another episode of A Candid Conversation with Adam Lopez. I'm your host, Adam. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned. More amazing guests and more amazing interviews coming up. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.